Hi there, and welcome to Scout the Gameweek. Scout the Gameweek is Fantasy Football Scouts' weekly podcast brought to you by the Scout Network. In each episode, we'll look back at the game week we have just played to assess what we can learn to help us in the next round of fixtures. I'm your host, Ryan from Football Chatbox. Let's scout the game week. This week, I'm joined by Hibo FPL, a pro pundit at Scout, and has 4 top 10k finishes as an FPL manager as well. How are you doing, mate? And welcome to your first appearance on Scout the Game Week as well.
Thank you for the invite. Very early start for you, Ryan.
Indeed, it is.
6 a.m. and it's just going on 9 o'clock here in the evening. So,
Well, this is how, like, even I'm recording videos with managers from different time zones in the UK. It's like an early morning start for me and a late evening start for most of y'all.
yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
No, it's just lots to talk about now as we, I suppose, approach game week 36 and
Yep.
double game week 37s on the horizon as well. And then I suppose the build up to finishing the season. So, yeah, lots to talk about, and well, mostly injury related, I think.
Yes, fair enough. I had a look at your squad as well. So you played your wild card as well this week, so similar to me. And you got a bench boost, I guess, in 37. Is the plan?
That is the plan.
Yeah.
And I will do that because there isn't really an opportunity left to play the bench boost, so I don't know. It's in my head when I was planning the bench boost, I kind of thought I was going to play like a 15-15 bench boost. I was going to have 15
Yep.
double game week
Yep.
players. I was going to bench boost them because this is like the dream scenario.
Yep.
But then when I started trying to make the wildcard team, I was thinking it's not really possible because it means I have to go with no Arsenal.
Yeah, and all of us went with Arsenal on our wild cards.
We had to go with Arsenal because I think the pool of defenders
Yes, that's
was
why.
very weak.
Yep.
And you kind of had Porro, you kind of had a Newcastle defender, and then you were looking, thinking, if I don't pick 2 Arsenal defenders, I'm in real trouble because in game week 36, I won't have a decent defense to put out as well. So, no, it's not really the bench boost I had in mind when I thought about playing the chip, but we'll make the most of it.
Yeah,
But
like
no, you go ahead. Sorry, Aaron.
so the whole season I haven't owned double Arsenal defense. I went with double Arsenal attack instead. So I had Martin Odegaard for most of the double game weeks and everything. But this wild card I played, and I was like, I looked at my team in terms of like defenses for because it's not just 37 alone, right? Because we were looking at 35, 36, and 38 as well. And I was like, okay, how do I maximize each week as much as possible? And I was like, okay, I'll probably get double Arsenal defense. I went with Rhea and Gabriel instead of like Ben White and Gabriel, because I did because I did go for everyone went for the Newcastle defender, so I went Dan Burn instead of the Fabian Schär move. Got in Guardiola from City, Pedro Porro,
Nice,
Dalot, and Gabriel. That's my backline. So because I had Guardiola, unfortunately I benched Guardiola this week, so I'm 15 points on the bench, sitting there just unlucky. But because I had Guardiola, I was like, okay, 36, I should be fine. I can play Guardiola, Newcastle defender, and 1 Arsenal defender. So I got Rhea in goal for that. Now, obviously, when you go to 37, I'm wondering whether I'd want to get rid of my double Arsenal defense, or at least like keep one defender and sell the other, or I haven't fully really decided where I want to go with that. With the bench boost also in mind, because I might move Rhea off for like a Vicario because of the Burnley game and then Sheffield United at home the following one. That's the one reason I can think of, like moving maybe an Arsenal defense, but even then there aren't like that many standout options to bring in per se.
Which Spurs players do you have now?
I have Porro and Heung-min Son. That's it. I have a spot open. I didn't go full triple Spurs this because there was that whole discussion of like maybe we don't know who the best third Spurs player is this game week. If we wait, probably can get to know. Now Richarlison has popped up, but then like if you look at the midfield 5 that a lot of wildcard managers have, very hard to kind of justify adding Richarlison into that as well, because all
Mm,
the remaining midfielders have a case to be made to be in that team. So I'm like, yeah, okay, do it. But then again, do you really want to double up on Spurs defense who haven't been that great?
no.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't, no, like that was very much kind of my thoughts as I was building a wildcard team, and
Mm,
they're good in attack, but then you have, like, as you say, the Sheffield United fixture in game week 38, and then you've got the Burnley fixture,
yeah.
and they have a lot of kind of tough fixtures within that. But then in my head, I thought, as Chelsea that tough a fixture for Spurs as attackers, as
Yeah.
Liverpool that tough a fixture for Spurs as attackers, and I kind of thought, not really. Man City obviously is, but I thought they could maybe score against those, and then they have the couple of favourable Burnley and Sheffield United, and that's good. Now, in my head, I thought I didn't want to double in the defence, but I went Richarlison, but I went Richarlison too early, and I kind of felt I wanted to get Richarlison rather than buying, say, Madison,
Mm,
and then pre-booking a transfer to say, right, well, then I'll go sideways. Madison to Richarlison if I think Madison's numbers were terrible. I looked at
no.
Madison's stats and I thought, I can't buy a Madison. This just no, this just doesn't me. So I bought Richarlison, and it's lucky in a way because now I have a couple of injuries, and I'm thinking I can deal with those
Yep.
rather than having to also make the Madison to Richarlison. I think Richarlison could be a very good pick because Werner's injured now. He's
Yes,
out for the
exactly. That's the
season.
thing. So that means Richarlison probably gets more minutes now as well, unless for some reason Ange plays um, Brennan Johnson on the left, Sun
Could
still
happen.
up front, and Kulusevski on the
Mm.
right.
Could happen. It just depends, I think, how far on Richarlison is with his recovery.
Yeah,
Do you
that's the
know?
thing.
Because I think as FPL managers, we kind of think in our head, oh, Werner's out, so this is great. Richarlison's going
Yeah.
to play every minute. But it doesn't necessarily work that way. It depends how fit he is. But
Yep.
fingers crossed. We'll see how he does against Chelsea.
Yeah, that's what.
Chelsea, I think, have a lot of injuries. They have a lot of injuries for
Yes.
Thursday night.
Yep. They've got more now. Disasi is out,
Hmm.
and then Thiago Silva is also still not fit. They're down to
Right.
like 10 or 11 senior players or something. That's including Gilchrist as
Yes,
well. So
it is.
and Gusto also doesn't seem like he's going to be back for game week 36 at the moment. So
No.
there's a lot of injuries there, but they do have Nkunku back in team training. Now I don't know if that would mean that we see some minutes from him against Spurs this week, or whether we see some minutes in 36. And I don't know how many minutes he's capable of playing in the double in 37 as well. Not really sure. Because that's just another spot that I didn't go triple up on in terms of Chelsea.
Right.
So I went only Petrovic and Palmer. So I have that open spot to decide on what to do with Chelsea as well. Um,
At least you don't have to watch Jackson
I
and
know,
hope that he
I
scores
know.
points.
Yeah.
Because that's where I am. Like, I'm kind of I have to watch Chelsea games, and then you just watch Jackson miss chance after chance after chance, and you're just like, why have I done this to myself?
Yeah, I went Watkins,
This
thinking that Watkins will do well this week, but he didn't.
that was a
But
good move. I
yeah,
think that was a good move.
so I still have the game against Brighton before I decide whether again. So that's the thing. So I was planning to go into game week 37 with two free transfers. Decide whether I want to sell Watkins for whoever appears as a third forward for game week 37
Mhm.
because there's apart from Isaac and Haaland, you're looking as for a third forward on a bench boost in game week 37, and you're like, who do I really want? Do I really want Jackson? Do I really want Hoyland? Maybe not. Joe Pedro, I'm not even thinking because I've just written Brighton off as a team. Like they're not
Mm,
performing anything. Then okay, maybe Nkunku, if he somehow manages to convince me that he can play at least 60, 70 minutes per game in the double in 37 could be a nice differential, but we don't know with his fitness as well. So there aren't that many options. And then you're back to the single game because
no.
so that's like
Yeah.
Watkins, maybe Chris Wood, Mateta, but yeah, doesn't sound too
Not
promising as a bench boost.
not it definitely does not.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of why I brought Jackson in, like, because it just kind of felt like the best of a bad selection, if you
Yep.
know what I mean.
Yep.
He does get the chances, he does get the shots, he does get the XG and all that stuff. He's a terrible finisher. I think
Yep.
we can all agree that his
Yep.
finishing isn't great, but you're just kind of hoping that he hits a purple patch in one game, scores a hat trick, or scores two, even scores one. If he scores one, you're going to be happy. But
The thing is,
no, yeah, I'm happy with the 6 that I have from Chelsea and
yeah,
Spurs. Anyway, I think I won't be changing them.
fair enough. Okay, so the thing is with Jackson, like he gets the chances, he keeps getting the
He does.
chances, but he's so bad at like finishing. He makes Darwin Nunes look a better striker for some reason.
He does.
Yeah,
He does.
which is like very bad levels to be at. But
But I think a really good stat for FPL.
yeah,
Obviously XG and stuff like that. But I like big chances must
I
because
heard that from late Ricer yesterday.
no, I
11.
do. I like big chances must because like you're looking at that and you're thinking he is getting the chances. He's missing them, and
Yeah,
he
but that's
might not always miss them. He
yeah,
might not always miss them. There could be a time where
yes,
he goes through a bit of a hot streak and he scores. He gets 8 big chances and he scores at least 4 of them, and it
yeah.
could happen. And I do like that as a stat. And he's the kind of player who, whenever I'm doing my captaincy articles, he appears on those kind of tables.
Okay,
Like when I'm
yeah.
doing that quite a lot. But no, we prepared some questions and stuff like that. So do you want to step through that? And
Yeah, let's go to that 'cause, we've been going like Spurs, Chelsea chat, but
we
that's good
have.
because it's very helpful for like managers who are in the same position and like trying to think of like what do we do with like picking players. So hopefully that kind of helps. But let's get through the questions. So let's start with Manchester City because we saw Foden not in the squad due to illness. Maybe he'll be back this week. We don't know. Haaland
Mm.
came off the bench and scored, while KDB got 2 assists, and then I mentioned Guardiola already on my bench sitting there. We also saw Edison leave the game in a sling, and I initially wrote it might rule him out for the season, but then we got a tweet out from I think that City Chief account, and they said that Edison's injury is not as significant as they first thought. And then Ben Dinery on Twitter,
Yeah.
who does the injuries, he basically said that Ortega will be in goal for this week, but then Edison could be back. So, what you got Edison, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, what's the
I
plan?
I I have Ederson. Just bear with me 2 seconds because there was a tweet about Ederson this evening
Oh, okay.
where I think they basically say City Extra have said that Ederson trained with a first team today.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Now it all seems a bit up in the air because, like as you say, he was pictured in a sling. Although this can be precautionary, like we've seen, you're a Manchester United fan. At one stage, Bruno Fernandes had his
Yes.
leg in a boot. Do you not remember that? And everybody sold him. Then
Yep.
I think he scored big points at the weekend. So I don't think you can read too much into that. Ortega's good. He's good enough to replace Ederson because at times Ederson has just been downright bad and
Yep.
he does silly things like trying to play it from a back and he loses the ball and stuff like that. But where I am with Ederson is information is everything. Free transfers are everything. And right now, like I have Ederson, I have Petrovic. So like my play at the minute is just to do nothing. What I'll
Mm.
probably do is I'll probably start Ederson
Yeah. If he starts, he
because
starts. If he doesn't,
because
Petrovic.
if he
Yeah.
starts, he starts.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, and if he doesn't, I get Petrovic.
Yep.
But in the position that I'm in now, I wouldn't buy Ederson, but I wouldn't sell him. But I
Mm.
also wouldn't buy Ortega because he seems like a complete non-runner anyway.
Yep.
So if I was moving to another goalkeeper and he was a double game week goalkeeper, it would possibly be like Onana.
Mm.
Um, I'm not dying about that. I don't love United's double, Arsenal and Newcastle.
Yep.
I'm not really sure I see them keeping a clean sheet in either game. So
No.
I'm in the position at the minute that in an ideal world, Ederson would have been ruled out because it would have stopped me from kind of being Ederson. Because
Yeah.
I think coming on this run at the end of the season, like Pep has the potential to do a funny thing where he would say, "Well,
Yes.
I'm going to play Ortega anyway," and like Ortega would just appear in the second game of the double, and you'd be like, "God's sake!" Whereas now I'm kind of stuck with Ederson. I can't move to Ortega. It would have been a great money saving because he's only 3.7
Yes.
million. It would have opened up that third City slot a wee bit more, where you could have thought creatively, and thought I couldn't reach De Bruyne because, like
Yeah.
you asked me, would it be possible to move to De Bruyne? But that requires a lot of restructure. But if I had two free transfers, in theory, you could have went. Ederson down to Ortega and maybe had an extra 1.5 million or 1.3 million
Mm.
to then upgrade another position, so it could have been Guardiola or but no, I think at the minute the play for me is just to be super patient
Yeah, true.
right out this week. See the information. Like we could get the Wolves team and Ederson could be starting in goal.
Mm.
Or it could be on the bench and it could give Ortega the run out. So I'd be happy enough just to keep with where I am. I can't do the KDB thing anyway because I'm sitting on a midfield of like Foden, Son,
Yeah, we have the
Richarlison,
same.
Gordon, and
Ah,
Palmer.
okay, yep.
And I'm never going to change any of those midfielders at
Mm.
this moment in time because they're all just kind of locked in for me for this final run on bar, maybe game week 38. So like KDB's off the menu. It would have been basically changing the goalkeeper and maybe buying like a defender or
Yeah.
something like that. But no, for now, I think super patient and hope that Ederson reappears.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because at this point, you're like, do you really want to spend a transfer on a position that has very low upside as well? Might as well just wait one more week, see what information you get, and then kind of like move and like structure your team accordingly based on like that
Mm,
information. Because
mm,
to be honest, even if Ederson wasn't starting this week, now we expect City to keep a clean sheet against Wolves. But the way they played against Forest itself, I wouldn't be surprised even if they were to have Ederson in goal that they keep a clean sheet this week against Wolves as well. Um,
mm.
so at this point, just keep who you have, see what happens in Game Week 36, and then in Game Week 37, decide based on that information. Probably where I'm.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Do you have Ederson?
No, I'm in Guardiola, but then I
Oh,
benched
you've
him.
got well.
Yeah, so different story.
No, but I would prefer to be in your position right now. Guardiola he looks kind of attacking.
Yeah,
I didn't want to go for him because of like I suppose the potential for minutes risk, but you just don't know. Like Manchester City, they're trying to win the league, so
yeah, that's the thing.
well, it's not like last season where they had the league won so early that in the late
Mm,
double game week there was
yep,
loads of rotations.
yep.
So
But they
it,
had
it could
Champions
keep
League
the
last
team
season as
fairly
well.
stable.
They don't have anything this season.
That
That's the thing.
that's a good point.
Yeah,
They don't have anything, and they're gunning for a title, and they
yeah,
don't have the title won. So maybe it keeps it fairly steady. But I would rather be in your position than mine. I think.
yeah. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
Pep does some crazy things. You never know because there's still like it's a 2 day rest in gaming 37 as well between the two games, I think. So
Right.
there's still, even though they're like nothing else to play for, like in the middle of the league, he could still rotate for some strange reason.
Uh, no, if it's 2 days rest, they'll definitely
Yeah.
rotate.
So
They'll de-
Pep
aye.
Pep does crazy stuff. So the thing is, he has the squad to do that. That's the
He
problem.
does.
So that kind of makes it hard as a field manager. But you gotta have to pick players and then just hope for the best.
And that's kind of why I don't really like KDB as a pick. I picked KDB earlier in the season,
Yes, same.
round about
25.
double game week
Yep.
20, double
Yep.
game week 25.
Worst
And I
decision.
consciously did it. They try and you know what, Ryan? I think it was a wee bit unlucky. It wasn't great because he was returning from injury and
Yep.
he's had bad injuries and they've taken the toll on KDB himself. And they obviously were a wee bit more cautious, but I think he picked up another injury. I think he
Mm.
got re-injured, and then he missed games as a result after double game week 25 completely. And the game against Chelsea, he was very unlucky not to score like at least double digits.
Mm.
I think if he had got one assist in that game, he would have got a 10-pointer
Yep.
because he had created so many chances, pass completion and stuff like that. But the stuff you're saying about say the two-day turnaround, that's
Yeah, I
like the
think
kind of
is
game
that.
that's the kind of game he misses.
Yes.
It's
So they have the Saturday game. And then they have, it's a Tuesday night game. So yeah, so Sunday, Monday, and
they'll
then
rotate Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then they don't play to the following Sunday.
yeah, yep.
He could miss the Tuesday. Like he's a lot of money for a player that can
Doesn't
potentially rotate.
return. Yeah,
Like you're kind of left guessing.
yep, yep,
Am
yep.
I gonna turn on the TV and he's going to be on the team, or is he not going to be on the team? And that's just too much money for that. But I didn't think that way in double game week 25.
Fair enough.
You know,
Fair enough. Same. I also went for the attraction of KDB, and I was like, that double. I don't even want to speak about because I had like Jota and Darwin, and they all started off so well and ended up so badly. So, it was just a
but that
nightmare of a double.
that was very unlucky.
Yeah.
You know, I do think because I had Jota, I had Darwin, and in a way you couldn't have prepared better
No.
for that double.
Yeah.
But outcome's outcome, and that's just how it goes.
Indeed. So okay. So I guess that kind of answers like the whole triple city attack or defender and then goalkeeper question. So cover that city. Let's move over to Newcastle because they are currently top of the ticker as well at the moment in terms of like games left and all of that. Isak and Gordon were on great form, but Fabian Shah, he also came off with an injury. Now don't know what exactly how bad that is. Doesn't based on Eddie Howe's comments, he said it didn't look too serious. But then, can you really trust Eddie Howe as well, based off his recent like form in terms of comments? He's not really reliable in all of that as well. But again, I think this is probably similar to an Ederson situation where you probably hold and see what happens. Or where are you with that?
Very much the same as the Ederson thing for me. Now, FPL Harry, you know FPL
Yeah,
Harry on
yeah,
Twitter and
yeah,
YouTube and stuff like that. He posted tonight Newcastle training pictures. I'm assuming they're from Getty Images. People search the Getty Images.
yeah.
Shar's not pictured in training, although sometimes teams do tactical
Yeah.
stuff where
Oh,
they
Arsenal,
leave
very
players out
well
of
known for it.
shots or they
Yes.
blur them out of the background and stuff like that. So he's not the training pictures, but as you said, like Eddie Howe hasn't been truthful with us. There's been times this season
Yeah.
where Gordon's been effectively like red flagged. He might miss weeks, and then he plays at the weekend. He scores, and you're thinking, oh, "Come on!" But I do think the Shar thing because it seems like it sounds like a soft muscle injury.
Mm,
It sounded like a hamstring.
mm,
He's kind of tried to play it down. Like, well, this is the information we have.
mm.
He's tried to play it down based on what we can see. He hasn't trained. I don't think he's going to make Burnley. I think I might have to replace him at some point in the future, but I might do the exact same thing with Shar that I'm going to do with Ederson, and I might just put him in the starting lineup. Now, in terms of my replacement, I'll get Dallo.
Yeah. Which isn't too bad.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Away to Palace is like my defence would be basically then Ederson, who would become
Yeah.
Petrovic, White, and Gabriel,
Which is
and
good.
then I would get Dallo
Yeah.
on, which is okay. But I think if you're looking at kind of clean sheet percentage, it's not great. I think it's a
Oh no.
sub 20%
No,
for
but
United against Palace.
if
But Palace are
Eze
the great
plays,
team.
yeah.
If
If
Eze plays and Matera play,
then it's a problem. If Eze doesn't play, I think you have a slightly better chance because I feel like Palace's attack doesn't click as much.
mm,
But if Eze plays, we're getting destroyed. Eze, Olise, and
that's
Mateta up front. You don't even hope for a clean sheet. You're hoping for attacking returns. That's one of the reasons I got Dalot. It wasn't for clean sheets. It was for attacking returns.
that's why I didn't go for Maguire
Yeah.
because I wanted that kind of slight chance of like a fluky assist.
Yep.
Where
Exactly.
like he plays like a 5 yard pass and
Someone
then
scores.
United
Yep.
score from it,
Yep.
and then you go right, okay, I've suddenly got like a 9 point Dallo. But
Yep.
no, if I was to think about how I would replace Shar, I would probably just get Dan Burn if I'm being completely honest. Now, I wouldn't do it this week unless Eddie Howe comes out and says, look, he's out for the season. And even then, because it's
I
Eddie Howe,
won't trust
you would
him.
be thinking, I wouldn't trust him anyway. But if he did come out and say Shar's out for the season,
Yeah.
I would consider that move this week. But in all likelihood, I'm probably just going to defer all moves, Ederson, Shar, whatever, roll the transfer, move towards kind of game week 37, and then just kind of pick up the pieces and just see, well, what can I do here with two moves, or what can I do with a move if Ederson's back? It might just be the simple move of going Shardy Burn. But then if I could go Shardy Burn this week and it saved me from playing Dallo,
Mm.
it could be a points profit move this week. So it might make more sense. So that on my head, like looking at my own team at the minute, I think the simple move is just to save transfer. I think by far it's the best move, but I think the next best move would be maybe Shardy Dan Burn, but it depends how
Depends on
long
what we
Shar's
hear.
out for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But I'm glad I went for it. Do you have Gordon?
Yes, I do have Gordon.
and you have Isaac.
Yes.
Loads of people went for the double Newcastle
Yep.
defence, and I think that's a problem because if you were on the double Newcastle defence and you've got Sharon Byrne and you don't have Gordon, say, in the midfield,
Yeah.
it's taking 2 transfers to fix that, number one.
Yes.
And like, which defender do you go to from Shar because you can't go to Byrne? Like
Yep.
that's a lot trickier. And I didn't like that. And there's lots of kind of narrative at the minute about, and it is true, like statistically it is true, but like they're talking about home and away form, and people are talking about benching Gordon against
So
Burnley, and that sounds
yeah,
absolutely
I want to get
crazy
to
to
that.
me.
Now,
Absolutely crazy.
uh, it's well known that he's had only what two games where he's returned away from home this season, and that
Mm,
was I went and looked at it as well. Game week 6
mm,
against Sheffield United,
mm.
and then game week 23 I think against Luton, if I'm not mistaken.
Good
Yeah,
research.
yeah, both against relegated or relegation sides, effectively I would say.
Hmm.
And Burnley are in this category as well. Now everyone's just looking at just two games that he's returned away. Do we really want to start him based on his away form? But then again, the counter argument is Newcastle are on pretty good form in general.
They are.
Gordon's on pretty good form in general, and I'll add to this that he's actually scored against relegation sides, and he scored a 12-point against Sheffield United back in Game Week 6. What's to say
Mm.
he won't do the same against Burnley? Burnley have to come out and play and try and win this game if they want to stay in the Premier League, which I
Yeah.
feel plays into the hands of Newcastle if they want to counter.
I'm not really surprised by the narrative because people kind of played down Gordon
Hmm.
in the wildcard week, because
Price
there was a
and
bit of a
yeah,
kind of there was, well, it was easier to get the two defenders, and then you
yeah,
could put Bruno on the midfield,
yeah,
which was kind of how people spent the money. But I watched Man United games. I didn't want Bruno. I know he was very unlucky not to
hmm.
score big, but I just didn't want Bruno, and I thought I'm not going there. I definitely want Gordon.
Hmm.
But in my head, I kind of thought Newcastle absolutely destroyed Sheffield United the last time
Yeah,
they played them. Was not Did they not score 8 goals?
yeah, something
And
like
I
that.
thought,
Yeah,
no, like I need to have these two attackers because if they go crazy, and in the end,
they did. Yeah,
they did, but they could have went crazier.
yeah,
It could have been huge scores. It could have been like 20 points each
yeah,
type thing. Only like he took maybe Isaac off, and then he took Gordon off
yeah.
around the 80 or whatever.
But he
But
was searching for his hat trick, Isak, like before that as well. So
uh, he's a very good player.
yeah,
I think he could go to Arsenal maybe, or
yeah, exactly.
he looks a very good striker. Like he's good finisher.
Yes.
But Arsenal players, are we going to discuss that?
Yes, we'll get to that as well. But quick question. Now with Gordon,
Mm,
probably still a good option to play this week.
yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, the narrative is coming not because of Gordon alone. I feel like it's more that a lot of people have benching headaches this week, and Gordon seems the easiest one to like bench based on that away result. Because I have Huming Sun as well. I have Huming Sun, Bruno Fernandes, Foden, Palmer in my midfield, and Watkins up front. Now, if I had Jackson up front, I would have thought about maybe benching Jackson because of it's
Mm.
just been Jackson. But because of the other players I have, I'm like, oh, I don't know who to bench. So I'm thinking of most likely benching Sun, but we'll get to that later. But that's kind of where I'm at the moment, just because of like picture being slightly harder, and also because of mini league chasing. So like people above me have Huming Sun, but don't necessarily have Gordon. Some of them. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of where I'm hedging my bets and hoping I can gain.
How far back are you in these leagues?
Uh, 40 points roughly.
Do they have chips?
Uh,
Do they?
one has a bench boost, one has a triple captain. So it is not easy. It's tough, but you never know.
No. Do they have good teams?
Yes, one just
Can I?
wildcarded and one wildcarded in game week 25. So he's like in a bit of an odd position. The guy who's on the top wildcarded this week as well, very similar team as mine, but he has Gordon. Um, he has Huming Sun as well. The only differences are I think I had Watkins. He went with Jackson. Um, and I think there was an I had Bruno Fernandes, and I don't think he had Bruno Fernandes. So those are the
Mm.
small changes.
Bruno Fernandes seems to be the player that's caused this benching headache. Because
Yes.
because every team that I've looked at that has
Yeah.
this benching headache, they all own Bruno Fernandes, and
Yeah.
I think,
But I'm not going to bench Bruno Fernandes. That's the thing, because he's very well
no,
capable of a haul.
I wouldn't bench Son. We'll go on
Who?
to that later, but
Yeah, but
I wouldn't bench
yeah,
Son.
because it's a very interesting decision to make. I think I've caused a problem because I had Watkins. If I had Jackson, I wouldn't have been in this situation. In my main head, I would just bench Jackson potentially against West Ham even. But
Who does Watkins play?
Brighton.
You can't
Yeah,
bench Watkins then.
exactly.
Is it home or away?
Yeah, Aston Villa, Brighton. It's away. Even then, it's Brighton. The way Brighton are playing, I'm like, yeah,
They're not good.
yeah. And he's chasing for the golden boots. That's why I've got him in my team. But anyways, we'll get to that. We'll go to Arsenal.
Yeah,
Now
sure.
Arsenal, both of us have double defense. Great fixture this week. We're hoping they keep a clean sheet. But the attack is something, I guess, that those who wildcarded just now couldn't really get and have. That's a differential point between those who have wildcarded earlier and who wildcarded like in GameWeek 35.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us probably are looking for an Arsenal attacker in GameWeek 38 as like that last week punter potentially. But like this week, how do you see the game going? And even Bournemouth, what do you think? Because a few still have Solanke as well.
Yeah, I follow an account on Twitter, Rob T
Yes,
FPL. He
yes.
produces like the kind of projected
The
goals,
charts.
graphics,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Now, Rob has predicted. Well, not Rob, because
The
this
market.
data basically
Yeah.
comes from spread
Yeah.
markets, and
Yeah.
they're like fairly accurate at predicting goals. Now they have Arsenal. They scored 3, which
Yes.
is
I
quite
saw
high,
that.
because statistically, when I looked at the Bournemouth defense for like my captaincy piece
They're
this week, I'm
good
kind of right with them
defense.
on it. They are actually
Yeah.
quite good, and it surprised me when I looked at the data. I thought they're kind of up near the top as in the best teams for like non-paying XG conceded.
Yeah.
They're not conceding many big. I think they've conceded the joint fewest big chances, which maybe 8 or something like that. So they're not a bad team, and that's like talking about over the last 6. But I think you make a good point in the fact that anybody that wildcarded in 35 kind of had to come off Arsenal. They
Yep.
kind of had to come off Liverpool.
Yep.
Anybody that wildcarded maybe back around 28 and played the early wildcard,
Still
they
have.
probably still
Yeah.
have an Arsenal attacker floating around their team. But Saka, for like me, has always kind of been like my go-to player at Arsenal, because you've got the pens, chance creation, shots, all that kind of stuff. But like Havertz has just been incredible, really. Like he's and when you kind of sit the two players side by side, and like I did a wee kind of small comparison just before I came on air, and I looked at the last 6, and I think like
Havertz is
Havertz
great.
has received like he's had like 6 big chances, or received 6 big chances, compared to Saka's 2. So he's getting in those kind of high threat positions, and in terms of like shots on target, he has 11 to Saka's 5, and he's got the leading XG, he's got the leading like non-penalty involvement and stuff like that. So it is surprising, like on a kind of football level, and kind of getting away from FPL. Like when that transfer happened, I thought kind of Havertz the Arsenal, are they
He didn't
serious?
start
Like
off well as
but
well. Yeah.
he started terribly. But
Yeah.
like I know lots of people that started with Havertz,
Yeah.
and they must be looking now thinking, well, I was on the right track in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It was too early, but I think at that stage he was playing at times like an 8.
Yes, I think Arteta was
he was
trying to
playing
figure
all.
out where to put him in with Gabriel
And
Jesus as well.
I know he's just a striker,
Yeah.
and he brings something completely different to Jesus, because he's just kind of cool,
Yeah.
calm. He can finish well, and he's fairly accurate, But I think when you do look at the stats, and you look at ownership, because I don't really like to talk about ownership too much, but it comes into play now, like where you're talking about money leagues and stuff like that, and overall rank as well, that if you had 2 players and you thought, look, I think they're both reasonably good options, you probably should pick the lower owned player at the minute.
Yeah.
They try and break through,
Exactly.
and I think Havertz could be that player. Maybe it could be the double game week 38 player that you want to jump on, but I think for us now, it's not something I'll do, because my midfield is basically
No.
locked.
Yeah.
But And 38, I could do it,
Yep.
but like and 38, I think I'll have Son and Richarlison against Sheffield United. So if I could add an Arsenal mat on there, would be nice.
Yes. Because that'll be good. Those are like the good differentials we want. And it's the last week as well. Take a punt. Because if you're trying to gain rank,
Oh,
you can't go safe as well. You're not going to gain anything. You have to take that low differential player.
Richarlison captain last week of the season. Just go for
Oh,
it.
it could work. It could work. I'm not
Good
gonna.
work.
Yeah.
Good work. Good work.
Because I
But
remember like last season game week was it 36 when Everton had that double, or was it? I think so.
was Everton.
Yeah, and I captained Richarlison and he hauled. So I was like, yeah.
I captained Danny Ings. Did,
Oh,
they had a double game week too.
yes,
Who
I
was he
believe
playing for
so.
then? West Ham.
West, yeah, 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 yeah.
Somebody.
I think so. Oh, was it West Ham? Yeah, I think West Ham. Yeah.
I captained Danny Ings. That went absolutely terribly. And if I had a captained
Yeah.
Richarlison, I would have really kind of flown up the ranks a bit more,
Mm,
But I didn't really believe in Richarlison at that
fair enough.
stage, But the more, like every week, he seemed to be kind of scoring,
Yep,
and
yep.
like, he more or less single-handedly pulled Everton out of
Yes.
like relegation, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yep.
But
Um. So okay. So Havertz good option. Arsenal still pretty good option this week. I guess this is where the question appears. Like with Arsenal defense in game week 37, do we want to still keep double Arsenal defense on a bench boost, or do you look to sell at least one?
it depends on my position with
Yep.
free transfers,
Yep.
because like from now to the end of the season, I won't take a hit. I won't go -4 at any point.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it's just like if I'm wild carding on 35, I'm never taking -4
No.
unless I've got lots of
Too.
injuries
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
lots of kind of problems to deal with. And at the minute we do have Ederson, where I do have Ederson, I do have Shar. We're waiting to see how they go. So with that in mind, I don't really see me kind of coming off one of those Arsenal defenders because they're strong in 36, they're strong in 38.
Yes.
They're playing United in 37, but
Yeah. True.
they could clean. They
True.
could clean, but I think I'll just stay on them because of how strong they are either side of the
Yep.
double, if
Yep.
you know what I mean.
Yep.
Um, and then try and add like a third Arsenal player in 38. That's
Yeah. Okay.
my mindset at the minute.
Yeah.
Um, go strong on Arsenal, go strong on Spurs, and maybe Liverpool option. I don't know. I'll decide at the time.
See, that was one of the like when I was making my workout between having Rhea and Ben White. I was liking to get Ben White, but just price wise and being able to afford the other players, it wasn't as easy.
Mm,
Because I wanted Watkins as well. If I didn't go Watkins, I could have afforded Ben White, but I wanted Watkins. That's why I couldn't afford Ben White. Um, but like with Ben White and Gabriel, even if they don't
mm,
clean, they have the chance of attacking returns.
they
That's
do.
that's the positive. Whereas Rhea doesn't. You're just trusting on like save points in the double in 37 if they don't keep it clean. So that's where I'm like, okay, maybe I have a chance to potentially bring Vicario in for that double if I don't see any other Spurs play that I want, because Burnley at home potentially they could keep a clean sheet. Hopefully, not really sure. City they're not
Against
going to.
who?
Sorry.
Oh, Spurs.
Yeah, yeah, Spurs,
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 you
Spurs,
mean?
Spurs, Spurs.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for Rhea. So I like sell Rhea, bring in Vicario as a free transfer, and then
Okay.
Sheffield United in game week 38. It's not the worst set of two fixtures to have. But then obviously Rhea is significantly better because he plays for a better defense. So
What's your team ID?
477 677.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
I want to look at your team. That's what I was trying to do. You see there now.
Ah, okay. Yep, yep, yep,
477677.
yep.
There you are. Right. Okay. I need a reference point. You see, when you're talking about your team, I need to
Yeah,
kind of
okay.
know who you have and who you don't have. You could do that.
Yep.
You could do that. I think that works for you. The only thing I would say is Richarlison feels like big ceiling compared to like
Yes, that's true. For that Burnley fixture.
double Spurs defense. But
The question is then who do I start removing? Because that midfield five, I'm like, oof.
it's hard to see who you remove
Yeah.
there. Bruno Fernandes, who does he play in the last week?
Brighton.
Brighton away.
Yeah.
That could,
I
you
mean,
could
that
be,
could be a
you
fixture
could,
where I like get like a Arsenal attacker potentially, or Richarlison.
it could, it could be like, you'd be trying potentially to fit on two players there, like, an Arsenal midfielder
Yeah.
and someone like a Richarlison
Yeah.
on there too, but Gordon, who does he have? He's Sheffield. Who does Gordon have last week? Brentford away.
Yes.
You could punt him out as well because I know there is the stuff about like the away record for
Yes.
Newcastle and stuff like that.
Like I could do a double
I
change
would.
of Gordon and Bruno Fernandes in the last day.
I if you two well, taking a hat's okay in the last week. Like it
D- uh,
depends. You can.
Depends on
I've
like
taken some good hits. I've taken
yeah.
some good hits. Like if you're to look at the FPL textbook, people will say it's a really really stupid idea to take a
Yeah.
-4 because you've got 1 week to try and gain the points back. Like, it
Mm,
doesn't technically make any sense. But I've had some good -4s
yeah.
in the last week last
Fair
season where
enough.
like you really go for it and
Yeah.
you pick two
Sometimes it
really
works.
differential
Yeah.
players.
Exactly.
Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works.
Yeah. It doesn't have to also be for a hit because I have two free transfers in 37, and then the question arises like with the double Arsenal and Watkins as the only single game makers, like how
Mm,
many do I really want to remove? Like if I only want to just like let's say no third striker pops up as a good option, then Watkins
mm,
against Liverpool might not be the worst thing as well, to be honest, because that's Watkins at home as well.
mm.
So then I go, okay, maybe I can roll a transfer as well into 38 and then have two free transfers to make those changes. But then again, you're losing the advantage of the last double of the season. Potentially take a,
Yeah,
if you're trying to gain rank, might as well just try and
I go
maximize.
go for the double.
Yeah, exactly.
Aye,
So we'll see.
no,
I don't know.
definitely.
Yeah, we'll see
Yeah,
how it goes. But okay, I guess Arsenal, that covers Arsenal. Man United, we touched on it before, like away game to Palace. I guess good for attackers, I would say, still in general for both sides.
good for attackers. Like I had a brief look at the projected goals, and I
Mm.
think United are projected for like 1.6, which is good
Yeah.
for like an away trip. Clean sheet percentage was 16%.
Or don't
So I
expect
think
any. Yeah.
I think ideally, like, don't expect, but if you're in a scenario where you have potentially an injured player
Yeah.
like Shar, like
Yeah.
in my position, I might just let him come in. It's no real problem. But I think your players like Bruno, very playable.
Yep.
I think if you had a bench headache, you could bench Garnacho, if you know what I mean. Because
Yes.
I know teams do have a bench headache. Would I play Garnacho ahead of Gordon?
Yeah.
Probably
No.
not.
No.
So,
Yeah.
and if that was the structure of your team, but
Yeah, that's the difference. Like if I went for a Garnacho, then I'll be more inclined to bench him rather than Huming
mm,
Sun or someone like that, because no penalties as well. That's kind of plays into it, and
mm,
also like he's not guaranteed 90 minutes every time, whereas Bruno is kind of like guaranteed to play in like 90 minutes and
yeah,
penalties, so that kind of pushes him up as well.
yeah. I don't hate the game, and I think lots of our thinking from Crystal Palace is based on what we've seen in like double game week 34.
Yes.
Because for large parts of the season, Palace have been absolutely terrible.
Yep.
But then they turned on the kind of like prime Real Madrid and just scored goals for fun. And Matera scored nearly 30
Yep.
points, and
Yeah.
everybody cheered in the crowd and said, "This is brilliant." Double game week 34 was a huge success. But like I could see United keeping a clean sheet. I could see it being a boring game, although United are predicted for like 1.6 and very low in the clean sheet. It's the kind of game it wouldn't surprise me if it was 0-0.
True.
To be completely
True.
honest. But
But I think
we'll see.
we'll probably score, because I think we've scored in almost like every game this year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we have gone a
Right.
game without scoring. So that's why I'm like, even in gaming 37 against Arsenal, I still think we'll
Mhm.
probably score that game as well. Which is where I'm like, double Arsenal defense, do I want Rhea or not? Is like I'm like, because if I can see us scoring, then it's just
Mhm.
Gabriel bullet header is a very possible scenario, which is why I probably might
Mhm.
keep Gabriel. But Rhea, I'm
Mhm.
very inclined to kind of sell,
Yeah, that's fair.
because it is at Old Trafford as well. That's the other thing. So
Mm.
that's one of the reasons. But again, Arsenal elite defense can keep a clean sheet. Nothing like we've seen that very well possible of doing that. But from the other point of view, I guess everyone probably has one defender, United defender, even though it's not the best scenario to be in. But they do have
Mhm.
possibly one defender. Then it's that third spot. Do you really need a third United spot? Probably not. But again, what do you think?
I have one Man United player,
Yeah.
Dallo, so I don't see that increasing for me.
Yep.
You know,
Fair enough.
unless
But then you have Richarlison,
uh,
so that's a good fixture against Burnley. So there's no reason for you to kind of increase that.
I don't. You know, that was my decision on
Yeah.
wildcard. You know, I kind of looked, and my team was. I was maybe kind of a few transfers away from saying going Dallo to like Maguire,
Yep.
and then beefing up that Richarlison spot and the like Bruno Fernandes
Yep.
because it was easy enough to do. But then in my head, I thought, no, I want to go on with 3 Spurs, 3 Chelsea. Do you know that's the way I want to play that. I don't want to go on necessarily with single game week Bruno Fernandes and team and 35 and stuff. You
Yep.
know, but no, I don't think I'll increase me kind of quota of Man United players. Let's
Yep.
say.
Yep. Fair enough. Yeah. I for me, I don't know. Like I'm still looking for that third forward spot. So if it's going to be Jackson or even a Hoyland for some reason, even though he doesn't seem to be getting any service for now,
Mm.
um, or if some other striker appears, then maybe I'll replace that Watkins spot. But at the moment, I don't know where I'm going for that. I would not go defense. I'm not doubling up on United defense at all. There's no clean sheets in
No,
that game week at all, to be honest. If anything, the only clean sheet
no,
I can see is probably in 38 because Brighton are struggling to score. But even then, I wouldn't go anywhere near United defense.
no. I agree. I do agree.
All right, let's move over now. Spurs and Liverpool. Tough game this week, and this is where I guess the whole benching dilemma for a lot of people happens. Now I guess I'm not sure how to read this with regards to like Liverpool. But do
Mm.
those who still have Salah, is it worth keeping this game week or just sell? What do you think?
Oh, I think you keep.
Okay.
I think if you have Salah, you keep. I think Salah's captainable this week against
Mm,
Spurs.
mm,
You know, because I know we'll move on that slightly in a wee minute, but I think his ownership's really plummeted because
yes.
of like wildcard 35 and everybody kind of focuses on towards the doubles and we all end up with roughly the same team. Whereas if you took a slightly different path, you could probably be in a position where you could hold Salah this week,
Mm,
but then maybe think, right, I might break up my team next week with 2 transfers to kind of play into the bench boost or
mm,
whatever.
mm.
You would probably get rid of him then. But no, like Liverpool again, we'll go back to kind of goal projections, and they're projected for like 2.75
Yes.
this week, which is
Yes. Insane.
huge.
Yeah.
It's absolutely huge. And Spurs are actually projected for 1.43.
That's where I'm
Liverpool
like,
have been terrible.
yeah.
I no like in this game, like and like intuitively, without looking at that kind of market
Yeah.
data or anything like that, I would have says, well, I fancy both teams to score in that game. And
Yes.
like the market data suggests that both teams will score in that game. I think you bench Porro.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
definitely
definitely.
benching
Yeah.
Porro.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't play Vicario if you had
No.
him. You would definitely put him on the bench. I have Son and Richarlison. I'm benching Richarlison. I'm definitely playing Son because penalties,
Penalty.
but he could
Yeah.
move the left wing. He could, you know, he could move the left wing if Richarlison starts up front.
Mm,
But I would still be playing my Liverpool attackers and I would still be playing my Spurs attackers. And
mm.
there's no conflict there. You know, you're not kind of cutting your own throat by playing like
Yep.
Liverpool or Spurs attackers and Liverpool defenders or vice versa. Like, you know, so no, I would. That's why I would say I would find it very hard for you to bench Son this
Son,
week
yeah, that's
because
what. But I don't know who I bench. That's the thing. Unless I go and bench Bruno Fernandes, that's the only other thing I can think about.
I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I have no idea who I want to bench. Like it doesn't make any sense unless for some reason Foden is still not fit and he doesn't play. Then my issues are all automatically solved. But
Possible.
yeah,
Like this team of yours, this is one of these teams where like Gordon's first sub,
yeah, in
and
most cases, yeah,
he's probably correctly first sub.
yeah,
Like, you know, because like, you're looking about playing Bruno, Son, Palmer, Foden, Isaac, Watkins, and Haaland.
yeah,
And as you say, you might kind of get out of jail because if a player ends up injured, doesn't play,
yeah,
maybe Gordon comes on. But I don't know. I wouldn't be keen on doing it if I was you. I didn't really
yeah,
want to do it that way. That's why I built my team in such a way to kind of avoid that
yeah.
headache
Fair
this week.
enough.
But it's maybe the best bet for your team.
Yeah, true. That's what a lot of people had told me. Like, just probably bench Gordon, like that away form and all of that. But this game's Burnley, and I'm like, oh, Burnley are so bad
Uh,
defensively.
it's definitely tough. But I in that position I couldn't bench
Yeah,
Son.
yeah.
Definitely couldn't bench Son.
The thing
Because
is,
I think a lot of these kind of elite top level
yeah,
teams, they all play the high line, and
true.
this is like a grass kind of perspective. It's
Yeah,
not very kind of data based, although
yeah,
there is data on it. But some does well in these kind of games.
yes. That's
Where teams play high and
yeah,
they play in the break and he goes early. And with pens, I think, well, statistically, you maybe have a chance of getting a pen every 3 games or 4 games. Although Spurs haven't had many pens this
so.
season.
I think that was probably like
I
his first or
think
second,
they've
if
had
anything.
one.
Yeah.
I think they've had one.
I think only like
But
only last game only I think we all got confirmed that Sunday's a penalty taker. I don't think they had a pen before.
no, he has. Sorry, that's his second penalty of the
Oh, okay.
season.
Yeah, okay.
That's his second penalty because he had scored one before that.
Okay.
But
But
no,
like
like so look how many penalties Palmer's had.
yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
But then some teams just like they play in such a way that they tend to get a lot of penalties because they have like tricky players up front. Spurs on the other
Uh,
hand don't necessarily have those tricky players up front that like tend to dribble and fall and all of that. But I will add, now obviously Davies is also out as part of the whole Timo Werner situation as well.
yeah.
Which means maybe Emerson Royal plays that left back spot potentially. Now we saw Saka exploiting Davies for pace and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't necessarily mean Salah will have the same luck. Maybe he might. We don't know against Emerson Royal.
Mm.
But I guess that's one thing to kind of like keep an eye out for because Royal could be a decent punt as well for anyone looking for 37 or 38 if they want a defensive player. Or do you think it's just not worth it?
I would well against Sheffield United. I would want to kind of try and have
Yeah,
2 attackers
yeah,
if possible.
yeah.
So it might not be possible, but
For those
I
who
think
can't,
with Porro, you're getting that attacking threat. Maybe the
yeah,
chance of an old set piece, although Madison takes a lot of them.
yeah,
I was taking a lot of them back, but I don't think. No, I would go into that game thinking I would want the 2 attackers.
yeah, fair enough. All right. We'll end it with players who don't have a double that we haven't mentioned in 37. Anyone else that we probably should keep an eye out for as decent punts for 36 or 38?
For 36 or 38.
Yeah. Because I
Oh,
know
let
a
me
lot
put
of
my list.
managers who are probably looking at. There are a few managers who have like free hit as well available, and they're looking to play a free hit in 37. So they have that option of like avoiding 37's double and like focusing on 36 and 38.
Well, I think Chris Wood potentially. He's got Sheffield
Mm,
United this week.
yes.
He had a lot of chances against Man City. And then you're looking at maybe
Burnley in 38 for him as well. Yep.
Burnley and 38 for him as well, which is a very good fixture. I think 38's kind of tried and tested because I think motivation's a factor, Ryan. And
Yes.
if the league's won at that stage, do teams rotate? And we don't really know that. And 38's a difficult week
Yeah.
because on the day there's just so many leaks and
Yes.
teams are starting to come out early because I think lots of like managers and clubs they don't really care so much about keeping their team under wraps in the final day of the season
No.
because lots of them the league's gone for lots of them and then you start to hear Haaland isn't going to play and
But
maybe
38,
Saka isn't going to play
yeah.
and it really makes that's why 2 transfers is very handy in the last day
Yeah,
of the
that's what.
season but
The thing is, 38 is a very high scoring game week as well because of that.
it is.
Yeah.
I look at these fixtures and I think Spurs against Sheffield United, we've spoke about Man City
Yeah.
against West Ham, obviously a great fixture. Liverpool against Wolves, like it's going to be like Anfield, Klopp's last
Yeah. Last
game,
game.
emotional, all that kind of stuff. Like so, if I could try and get a player from that fixture,
Mm,
now who that's going to be, will probably depend on leaks and stuff at the time because it would be very hard for me to get to say Salah, but could I get the Darwin? Do I want to get the Darwin? You know, you know, but I have that Jackson slot,
yeah.
which
Then yeah, you
lends
kind of like
itself
yeah.
it lends itself to being
Yeah.
somebody like Darwin,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's
if Jota
oh
was
God,
available, I would have gone for Jota. I was eyeing Jota before he got injured.
agreed,
Yeah, but
agreed.
then he got injured, and I'm like, yeah, there goes that plan.
hmm Even someone like Trent,
That's a
I do
possibility.
like
Yeah.
Trent, and then you look at that Wolves.
Yeah.
They're not the most attacking team, although Gary O'Neill's made them
Mm.
decent.
Mm.
But like a player that can assist, maybe score a free
Yep.
kick,
Yep.
get the clean, get the bonus.
Mm.
It could be a good punt that's like low ownership, but
Yep.
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, cool. We'll end it with captaincy. Now you do the captaincy articles on Scout. Who are the captaincy option this week, and are there any differentials? Because I'm definitely looking for a differential. I think everyone will tell Haaland, but I'm not going Haaland because I want that differential to like chase rank and climb winning leagues. So, who are the options?
Well, I think Haaland's obviously dominant in the captain pool at the
Yeah.
minute. I think he's on Scout. He's maybe around 50-60% at
Ah.
the minute, which is understandable. But then I think when you look at the most elite managers,
Yep.
once a game week starts, he'll be more than 50-60%. Amongst
Yeah,
elite
he's at
managers, he'll probably be about
43% at the moment. I'm looking on Scout's poll. Yeah.
see amongst elite managers, he'll be
Mm.
about once the game week closes and we get the data, I would say he'll be capping by about 70 to 80% of elite
Yep.
managers,
Yep.
very good managers. Now, do I think he's the best captain pick this week? I probably do.
Mm.
Wolves at home, I think again projected goals, they're projected for like
Mm.
3.3,
But they has a decent
but then
defense though.
they aren't a bad defense. And
Yeah.
now if you look at say Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, they've all been projected to score roughly around 3 goals, and Chelsea are projected to score like 2.25. Now, I looked at a couple of defences. I've looked at Wolves,
Yeah.
decent enough. I've looked at Bournemouth, decent enough. West Ham were very poor.
Oh, they're horrible. They're at the bottom. Like last 6 game weeks, I was looking. West Ham and United, Manchester United, both at the bottom,
They're
20th and
very
19th.
poor. And
Yep.
if I look at the individual player numbers, because like that's how my article's
Yep.
kind of broken down. Like I'll look at individual player numbers, I'll look at kind of team attack, I'll look at team and defense and stuff like that. Palmer's individual numbers are just incredible.
Yes.
And sometimes when people talk about a differential for captaincy, I don't think you should mess around with captaincy.
Mm.
But what I do think you can do with captaincy is you can use it to increase your risk in any
Yes.
kind of given game week
Yep.
without buying crap players, for want of a better
Yep.
word.
Yep.
Because like people always say, "Oh, I need to buy a differential," but really, like you think, no, you don't really have to buy a differential because, like I said earlier, if you have two options and they're relatively kind of equal, but I say to you, well, look, this week Han's going to have maybe 170% EO,
Yep.
but Palmer's going to have 100.
Yep.
Well, then Palmer could be a good bet, although like, I think you would be going into it accepting that I've got the second best pick here.
Yes. Which could
I
which
think
could do well because
which,
it,
which could do
yeah,
well.
because end of the day, Haaland is that forward spot and Palmer is in that midfield spot, so you get that extra point for a goal. If they keep a clean sheet by some miracle, that's an extra point as well. So all of that kind of tiny numbers do count as well.
It does, and I think the point that you're maybe trying to exploit with Haaland is he 90 minutes ready? And he's
Yes.
probably he's probably not 90 minutes ready. And like he could maybe come off around 80, although he
Mm.
plays more full games than we give him credit for. So I think it depends where you see Haaland's minutes. Now, I think if you see them kind of around mid 70s, Palmer's maybe close to him. But
Mm.
I think if you see Haaland as maybe being kind of low 80s, I think he's clear.
Yep.
But when I'm writing up my captaincy article, Palmer will be the second pick.
Yes.
Haaland will be top. Haaland will be top. Palmer will be second. Salah will be third.
Mm.
He's a wild punt, I do think, because I think Spurs defence is tragic. You've talked about Emerson
Yeah.
Royale. His ownership is going to actually be on the floor compared to Palmer, because Palmer's going to have like
Yeah.
effectively like he'll be over 100% EO. Like it's a
Yes.
fact, because
Yes. Definitely.
he's almost universally owned, and he might be capped by about 20% of like good managers.
Yeah.
Salah won't be like Salah will probably have like maybe I don't know 30 or 40% EO. So like I think if you wanted a wild punt, like if you were really
Mm.
throwing a Hail Mary, and thinking I'm just going to go for this. Who knows? Like you go back Sal and they could do the same because I don't think Sal's been bad. I think his stats have been good recently, and I think lots of it is down to kind of variance. Like against United, he could have scored. He scored the penalty, but he could have scored the tap on at the death. And he's had chances in big games which he just hasn't converted. And then people say, "Is he the same Salah?" But
Yep.
has he maybe just got a wee bit unlucky in the last run of 10 games or whatever? I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll add to this
but
as well. Now, obviously, the reason for the projected good numbers, I think, are because of the goal difference between City and Arsenal. So people are like expecting them to like keep scoring high because of that goal difference to try and like Arsenal want to like increase their goal difference. City want to try and catch up to that goal difference. So that could kind of affect the markets as well. But given that Arsenal are also like expected like 3, are they worth considering for those who have Arsenal attack?
what in terms of captaincy?
Yeah.
Like my go-to captain at Arsenal is Saka
Yep.
because pens and big chance creation, set pieces and stuff like that. But his numbers just don't do it for me at the minute.
Yes.
And I think we've seen on Twitter this season, people kind of get sucked in by Saka because then they kind of say he doesn't have the goal threat and he's more of a creator, and they kind of create these kind of fake narratives and they look for stuff that isn't really there. And then Saka goes in a run and he scores like 10 points, 15 points, 15 points,
Yeah.
10 points. And he turns into like a shot monster for about 4 games. So you can look at his data, but you can't always read into it because like you can look at his data for this week and think, I don't really like his data. And he could go to Bournemouth and score 2 and score a 15-pointer, and you'd be thinking, well, shows you what I know. But for this week, I wouldn't really consider him because I do have
Better
Haaland
options. Yeah,
top.
fair enough.
Haaland's top for me, and Palmer statistically is
Yeah.
like I looked at Palmer's stats and there was some crazy stuff that I think he's
think
got
his
the most
numbers are
shots on
really close.
target out of all the players that
Yeah.
I've looked at in my assessment, but he's also got almost the most chances
Yeah.
created and
Yeah.
big chances created and stuff like that. So it's just in terms of like non-paying involvement, I think him and Haaland are roughly about 100
Yeah.
minutes
Okay.
per non-paying involvement, which is it's crazy that he's keeping pace with
Yeah.
Haaland, but
What? Okay. Two more names I'll throw into the ring. One being potentially Phil Foden if you didn't want to go for that like Haaland route but still wanted a City attacker, but again injury and fitness related that with him. And the other I'll throw is Isak against Burnley.
could work.
But Newcastle's numbers away from home I've seen are slightly worse than when they're at home, or
His
significantly worse.
numbers his numbers are okay.
Yeah, his numbers are good though. Yes, that's true.
His numbers are good because like I saw, FPL Fran.
Yes, I saw that chart that you made.
Fran did a comparison and he looked at Gordon, and
Yep.
Gordon's numbers were like night and day,
Yep.
compared to like home and away. But then somebody said, "Can you do Isaac?" And he did Isaac, and Isaac's numbers weren't as stark. He was still doing the good non-paying stuff away from home, and you're kind of thinking, well, I don't know which teams he's played in that sample because, as you say,
Yeah.
this has a good fixture, so like there's a chance of going out and kind of bumping that number up a wee bit. But no, I think those kind of players for me are on the more punter side of captaincy, and it's not really how I play the game or
Yep.
like how I write the article because captaincy is always something I've been like super safe with. And if I take a wild punt, it'll be in game week 38, and it'll depend on me thinking I need to make up 20 points or 30 points to win that money. Like, and it
Hail
can work.
Mary.
The Hail Mary article
Yep.
will be in game week 38,
Yep.
so you
Fair
can
enough.
come back and read that then.
Yep, fair enough. All right, cool. So that hopefully, if you guys want to see more information on the captaincy article, it'll be on Scout this week. So make sure to check that out. Thank you, Hibo. That's basically it that I have. Thank you for your time today. Do you have anything to plug?
No, well, just my own article. But apart from that, I think that Fantasy Football Scout do some great kind of written content. And I'll just give a shout out to the editorial team. So like Neil Rigg, Tom Freeman, and Mark Jobling. And I know the way the world's gone in terms of kind of content is it's mostly kind of YouTube and video.
Yep.
But the written stuff that the boys do is just kind of top class. So like if you're on the kind of written articles, check them out because there's lots of kind of good content.
Indeed. And now that you mentioned that Mark Joblin, I need to send him my team reveal because I promised him a team reveal for the Finance Football Scout community site.
Really?
Yeah. So I need to
Very
send
good.
him that after this. But yeah. So thank you, Hibo. And you can also find me, Football Chatbox, on YouTube where I do weekly videos and deadline streams. That's it for this week's Scout the Game Week. I'll be back after Game Week 36 and looking ahead to Game Week 37. Green Aerosol.
Good luck.